Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl JoJo, and I'm here with the review for Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is whoops. I'll have it right in the description bar below. I'm actually watching and reviewing something I haven't done in a while, but hopefully it helps me get done faster. Now, listen, I have figured out with Love and Marriage Huntsville, I'm going to skip things that I feel like are filler and just get to the meat and potatoes of the episode because they have a lot of filler in these episodes sometimes. I think it is so interesting that Martell has now become the person really that Mel used to be, that nobody really wanted to film with, or actually I think more so Mel didn't want to film with everybody else, but he's become the odd man out. The only difference is he doesn't have enough entertainment value to film by himself or film with friends or film doing his business or film doing things with the children the way that Mel used to do. Martell just doesn't have it. So we see later on, we're going to see Martell in the episode talking to his mama. That's a shame, Martell. But they're soft launching Arian on this show, so we're going to see how that goes. But let's move into what happened on the episode. We see Trisha and Ken doing a photo shoot. I'm not going to dwell on that too much. They look cute. They talk about her upcoming 38th birthday party. Who's going to be there? Who's not going to be there? Drama that they over. Okay, cool. Ken is ready to get through this divorce. Bruh, please. You've been sitting around all this time. You go sit around some more. But I want to move into the conversation that was had between Maurice, Marsau, and Jalen. We pick up where we left off with the dinner of Maurice and Marsau arguing about who the golden child was. Maurice 100% does not agree. You were not raised around the golden child. You're being dramatic. And Monster is not the golden child. Monster gets, of course, way more than I got at our age, but I don't feel like I'm raising him any differently. Like, it's funny that you call him the golden child and he doesn't even have a car. Maurice, please. I'm sure a car is on the way. Like you're trying to make fetch happen and you don't really have much of an argument. What Marsau is trying to say to him is you need to try to salvage the relationship that you do have with Jalen by listening to him, understanding what he's saying, understand what I'm saying, because I'm coming to you from the perspective of someone who kind of feels like Jalen felt. I felt like you could do no wrong. I felt like you were the golden child. That's how it felt to me. And Kimmy even says, because Monster is the golden child. And Maurice is just like, nah, my wife betraying me as well. Like, I ain't got nobody on my side. His eyes got so big. He looked at Kimmy like, oh, okay, like I ain't got nobody. Tisha was staying quiet, which I'm glad. But Kimmy makes the comment, sometimes Maurice has a hard time understanding things and it can be very frustrating. This is your child. How long has this been going on? And this is what I'm saying. Like, I be understanding why people say, I'm not getting with nobody until my child is older, or I'm not getting with nobody until my child is out the house, because y'all have no idea how much a dynamic of you bringing other people into your child's life can change them. I am in years of therapy for abandonment issues, for attachment issues, from people coming into my life and abruptly leaving, but also from people being in my life and coming with added stress that I didn't know I was going to have. There are things going on right now that I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because it sounds very mean, but I am expected to show up as a daughter. I am expected to show up as a sister, as a sibling. I'm expected to show up for my mother and even my siblings in a lot of ways that I really did not ask for. And I wouldn't have had to do had, certain people not decided that they wanted to fall in love and do the things, right? These are not things that I asked for. And you don't realize what you put into your children's life when you do these things. You thinking I'm bringing another parent in, or I'm bringing in a happier life because you're happy. But what does that mean for them? Anyways, so I didn't like that. I didn't like that it just seemed like she's been sitting. She's known about this for a long time, and it's making me uncomfortable because did you know it was making Jalen uncomfortable? Were you having side conversations with him about just kind of getting through it? Did you know that prior to Monster moving in when you spotted it? Did you call it? I would have kept calling it until it got better. Or me and my son about to live elsewhere. Like, I can't sit and allow this to happen. And he keeps saying, well, Jalen was an excellently raised child. And I think that was mostly because of Kimmy. Jalen was raised well. Jalen is this and Jalen is that. So he feels like if the child is successful and we got the intended results, success means good parenting. Hustling, good jobs, good manners, that means good parenting. That means a part of good parenting. What is your emotional capacity built up as, though? Because that's going to say a lot about your parenting too. It's a lot of us walking around here looking good, making money, very successful, know how to do the right things, got good manners, we got chivalry, we got all this stuff. And on the inside, we in the bed crying for 4 and 5 days. And then getting our ass up to go to work like nothing ever happened. Is that successful to you? Y'all can tell this is touching me deep down in my spirit, right? It's upsetting to me and my homegirls. So, they have a separate conversation where they go out to eat, and Marcel is able to kind of speak for Jalen in a way. He's trying to get, again, Maurice to understand, hear what we're saying. We're not downing. I'm not trying to down you as a parent. But what I'm saying is we didn't grow up feeling like stepchildren. All right. So you saying you raised him the way we was raised. We didn't grow up feeling like stepkids. Your stepchild felt like a stepchild. Regardless of what you think you did, regardless of how you think the results turned out, he feels, that's what I need Maurice to understand. It's not about what you're saying. It's about how he feels. You can dress it up, jazz it up however you want. He still feels like he was treated differently. And everybody else does too. So everybody else thinks it but you. So it leads me to think that it's probably true. When they meet up to eat, you can tell Maurice is starting to get it, but it's still not all the way there. He's still making a lot of excuses. There's still a lot of but. There's still a lot of but. Look how great you turned out. That boy is breaking down on the inside. He laughing, but his eyes look terrified. But Jalen always looked terrified to me. They're laughing over, they're chuckling over their feelings, which bothers me about men, but I understand that y'all do things a certain way. Marcel is trying to explain to him, you gotta, when they're talking about the business, Maurice says that he's waiting to get invited. And Marcel said, I'm sensing some tension. Are you upset that Jalen wants to do these things without your input? He says, yes, he doesn't really understand it, especially since he wants more of a family business. And Jalen says there's the issue of dictatorship. And when you're a dictator, the people closest to you get treated well. The further away you get on that totem pole, the worse you get treated. Message. Maurice said, you think I would treat you worse? Why do you think you're after Monster instead of before Monster? And I love that Jalen said, I'm before Monster in knowledge. Y'all make sure I know stuff before Monster, but I am not before him when it comes to love and attention. That's it right there. He telling you the problem. It could not get more plain than that right there. If you choosing not to see it at this point, then you're just stubborn, stuck in your ways, and you don't like to admit any type of fault. That's all I can come with. But I know it make you uncomfortable, but that's part of being a parent. Don't be a parent if you ain't ready to hear somebody tell you about yourself. Because, baby, your kids, you can think you doing all this and your kids can have a totally different experience. And you be looking like, what the hell is going on? Oh, my gosh. And you got to be able to stand in it. And right now, I don't feel like Maurice is doing a good job of doing so. But Jalen, if it make you feel any better, he do the same thing with Monster. If Monster try to tell him where he uncomfortable, if anybody tries to tell Maurice that they're uncomfortable, all he does is talk about how great everything is. Marcel is right. He lives in an alternate reality. I was proud of Marcel for being able to step in for Jalen and say the things, because we know how Marcel has traditionally been with his own children. He says those are Tisha's kids. So I'm hoping that he has learned the importance of having those emotional connections with your children, and being around them and doing for them. So, hopefully he's changed a little bit in that regard. But he did a good job of trying to make sure that Jalen felt heard. He told Maurice this is something that he's going to have to work on, and work on it genuinely. Do not work on it in a condescending way. Jalen tells us that he got a job in Colorado, although he had to take a pay cut. that's not really what he wanted. But I say Jalen, go and be free. Maurice does say sometimes when you're entering a new industry, you do have to take a little bit less pay, which is that actually is true. I'm hoping his other investments with real estate will help bridge that gap of the finances. I do think IT has become a slightly oversaturated market as somebody who's IT adjacent. So sometimes when you coming in brand new, they may try to undercut you with pay. I wouldn't let it happen too long. You got a year before I move around and find something else. But I think Jalen needs a big move. I think he needs a big move to kind of shake his life up a little bit. And if you want to come back to Huntsville next year, that's fine. But I think that this would be really good for him. What did you guys think about it? What did y'all think about Maurice? What did y'all think about Marcel? Were you pleasantly surprised? And yeah, let's see if there's some improvement here. Nell and Trisha meet up at her daycare. You could tell Nell was just getting some screen time in to make it look like she was working. She was flipping over that same piece of paper. I don't think it had nothing on it. Then her daughter came in there to bring her keys. Her daughter stopped short at the door like, oh, the camera's here. Where you want me to put your keys at? So Trisha comes in and they basically just talk about her upcoming party, who's invited, who's not invited. Martell and Marquez are not invited for sure. Everybody else is invited. And Nell brings up Tisha in the conversation they had at the table. I like that Trisha's kind of trying to stay out of it. She said that maybe she's just a little bit more guarded. Maybe Tisha's guarded about the situation. Her and Marcel probably have definitely talked about it. There's no way they haven't. But maybe she was more guarded at the table when Nell was asking her about the video. And Nell says possibly so. But she just doesn't feel like Tisha specifically. But she throws Kimmy in too. But Tisha specifically wanted to be all up in her business about what her sons had going on in Destiny. But when she tried to ask questions, Tisha got very defensive. And she just doesn't feel like they're transparent. So this is a foreshadowing. This is going to come up later. I know I said it already, but I'm saying it again. It is so funny to watch Martell become the Melody of this show. Except for Melody did not want to film with everybody. Martell probably would like to film with the rest of the group, but nobody wants to talk to him. And he does not have enough entertainment value. So here he is sitting with his mama, having some brunch or something, looks like lunch, talking about Arian, moving Arian into the rental property. The mama's just like, okay, well, you might as well. She's your baby's mother. There's no point in having the property just sitting there and not having anybody live in it. This would be good. He was like, and he letting us know that he paying her bills. He was like, yeah, because if I'm going to be paying the bills somewhere, it might as well be somewhere that I built and I owned and but I ain't going to move her in until I have a ring on her finger. Martell has been dealing with this girl for 12 years now. We watch Melody have a baby and that baby is big. Like we watch Arian have a baby and that baby is big. These are people entering kindergarten now. Possibly even, further than that. These are children that are growing up. So you've been dealing, Arian, add 5-6 years onto those children, that were once babies. Yes, you've been dealing with her for a long time. So sitting here and acting like you're just so unsure, talking to his mama, and he was like, well, she says you gonna marry her? You thinking about marrying? I don't really know because, I just got to make sure that things are right between the two of us and that the trust is there, for me as well. Make sure I'm ready and make sure Arian is the right person for me. And Martell, please, you doing all this carrying on like you just met this girl. It is so frustrating to watch. He's tiring. And then we kind of go a little bit before we get into that. We talk about Marlene and how disappointed she was that they broke up. And it's been a long time coming with her and Arian, but it's gotten a little bit better because at first she said she wasn't never going to participate. But that's her baby and she loved her some Martell. So eventually she got to participate and she did. But she want to know if Martell plan on marrying her. And that's when he get to carrying on about how he got to make sure it's right and that she's the right person. I was so glad when Miss Marlene hit him with the read, like with everything she did to get you. I think she the right person. Okay, period. And then she made this face right here with a Coke and a smile. Exactly. I don't know why Martell is taking us through all this. He know that girl is the one for him. It can't be nobody else. Who else would it be? Don't nobody else want you? You done did this interview. You done alienated yourself from the rest of the cast. You might as well get her up in there. And what's the baby name? I done forgot. Bring them all around. Because nobody has time for you, Martell. Okay, let's head over to the party. The party looked a little lame.
As far as what everybody had on, cute for the most part. Tisha, the BBL is BBL, and kudos to you. Trisha looked really cute. She had the picture of her and Ken up at the front of the party. For whatever reason, Tisha had something to say about that. She should be able to celebrate her own birthday. Why is Ken in the picture? And Trisha ends up telling her she wanted Ken in the picture because that's her dark chocolate. That's her Megatron. That's her whatever's. And Tisha's just like, oh, but it's your birthday. You should be able to. What is her liquor of choice? What does Tisha drink? Vodka, gin. Is it brown liquor that's got her acting like that? Brown usually have me more mellowed out, but some people show out on brown. I want to know what her drink of choice is. It's giving gin. It's giving gin. But you see how Kimmy is holding on to Tisha in this scene? When the ladies get together to have a conversation, I feel like Kimmy always has to put herself in this position whenever Tisha has been drinking. She got to baby her and monitor her and, get her to chill out and all this other. Don't nobody, if you listen, this is Wanda 2.0, I'm telling you. That's why most of the time when she is sober, she just try to sit there and be quiet, try not to do too much because she knows she ignorant as hell. So the liquor brings it out. They sitting there, they having a conversation, and that is when Nell reveals to Tisha and Kimmy, sometimes I feel like you guys are not transparent. For example, when we were at dinner, y'all will want me to talk about me, y'all will talk about my son and the things they got going on, and Tisha was like, and we will. I said, see what I'm saying? We hadn't even gotten to the point where she needed to be doing all of that. She ignorant as hell. So then Kimmy is holding on to her, trying to get her to tone it down or making sure she don't say too much. It's got to be exhausting. I don't even like friends that I got to do that to. But Kimmy, we already know you spilled the tea many reunions ago that if y'all wasn't sister-in-laws, you would not be friends with Tisha. And I'll never let you forget it. So Tisha, Nell ignores that. Nell ignores the and we will. Nell was like, okay, and all right. So what I'm saying is, I don't feel like you all are necessarily transparent. Kimmy was like, well, hold on. Because Kimmy like to try to get Buck a little bit. What am I not being transparent about? Did she use the F word or did she say what the hell? One or the other, she cussed. What am I not being transparent about? Tell me what it is. And she was just like, I asked y'all about the interview that Martell did. And Kimmy said, I didn't even watch the interview. So that's why I really didn't have too much to say about it. That's why I wasn't being transparent. I think that's BS, but okay, we're going to let Kimmy live in that one. Tisha says that she only watched some of it. What happened to you watching it and you and your husband did an Instagram live about it? But I just really didn't have too much to say about it. I told you what I had to say. Is the problem, Kimmy say, do you think our husbands have cheated and we don't want to talk about it? And here come Tisha adding on. I think a lot of times it's just that people want you to be transparent about something that you don't know about. I don't know about my husband having infidelity, so that's not something I can be transparent about. Nell said, I didn't say anything about them cheating. That ain't even what I'm on. Again, she didn't say y'all husbands cheated. So why are y'all bringing that up? She asked how y'all felt about the interview. She asked how y'all felt about it. Y'all could have been transparent in any kind of way. Like, I thought that was BS that Kimmy kind of did. I just thought that was crazy that Martell would do that. I feel like the guys is going through something where they beefing. I ain't never heard of this girl before. I asked him about this girl, asked if maybe some things might have been misconstrued. You could even took it that route. Or you could have said, honestly, Nell, I'm just so tired of the whole thing with Martell and these guys. We did discuss it at home, but I don't even want to go into detail. Even saying I don't want to go into detail to me is being transparent. That's letting me know to my face, girl, I can't even talk about it. It's pissing me off so much. But just know, I had to have a conversation at my house. It could even be as much as that, right? But they want people to go into details about what they have going on. And they always have. Kimmy and Tisha from episode 1, they have always wanted to know what was going on. They was on Mel for not answering her phone and not letting them know what was going on with her and Martell. They have been calling her. They have been trying. I remember that from season 1. So yes, y'all have always wanted to know what people had going on. That has been true. Now I would pay it with these girls. I wouldn't even be friends with them. I just film with them when I needed to. And I wouldn't go anywhere if it wasn't with the husbands. Like, I just wouldn't engage with them like that. But it's a contractual obligation, I guess. So after that, Nell is just like, okay, it is what it is. I guess now we need to just kind of get into what Maurice felt, about what Fletcher. said. So the girls get up because now they gonna bombard the men. But the men, little do they know, have already had a conversation. So let's go there. Oh no, before I go there, Tisha goes on about how sometimes she feel like Neil and other people are not always transparent. Trisha was like, because I'm an open book, I'm transparent. And Tisha is just like, you are not transparent. And then they flash back to the whole Martell thing and how Trisha was kind of lying about whether she had some dealings with Martell or not. I still don't really know. But Trisha say she an open book now, I guess, from that point. And Tisha said, nah, she ain't really no open book. But I guess we gonna see what happens. But I like that Trisha was getting a little bit buck with Tisha, because Tisha thought she was going to be the only one over there cussing and fussing and telling everybody about themselves. Girl, you don't even have the moral standing, the moral high ground to get buck with anybody on this show. You don't have the pizzazz to be the main it girl on the show. You've been wanting to be the it girl for all seasons that the show has been on. You don't have it. You don't have the main character energy. You don't hold it. Wanda got more main character energy than you. And even though you are the spitting image of her, you don't carry it right. You're not confident with yours. So no.
So the guys go over to confront Chris about what had happened and what he... The way Chris Fletcher be looking at them is hilarious. Just, he hate them. He don't like these guys. The way Chris look when he just with his sons and Ken and Ken's friend is totally different than the way he look around Marceau and Maurice. He do not like them. He be looking at them like they just some off-brand Negroes he do not fool with. So they trying to confront him. And you know, Maurice and Marceau have a tendency to go all around the mulberry bush. They don't just go right to it. So before that, though, they talking to Ken about Marquez. And, you know, of course, Maurice sees it a certain way. Ken is just like, I mean, I don't really care what these guys think. These are going to be the last ones I come to for some marital advice in T-ways. So when they confront, after they done with that, they confront Chris about what he said. And Chris, you is lying, and we saw it when they rolled the tapes back. He talking about, okay, well, it was said to me that somebody had told Martell to get NDAs, and I said, well, you know, that's more so like maybe Maurice's realm, you know, the law stuff and all of that. I said that ain't really. Unless they done clipped it funny, that ain't really what was said. You said what you said, and I would have did it. I would have been like, yep, I said that sound like something y'all would say. That don't sound like nothing. I wouldn't say nothing about no NDAs. That sound like something y'all would say. It was funny. It was funny because, of course, it's going to come up later that he was not being 100% honest. But Maurice said he got to give him the benefit of the doubt. And after they hash it out, the ladies do end up coming over there so that they can also confront some issues that's been going on with the fellas. Well, Tisha mainly. Now, before I get into Tisha's drunk ass, what did she mean when she looked at Nell and said, I feel like you haven't really been transparent about your infidelity? Whose? Are we talking about the infidelity situation that they suffered with their marriage years back? Is she talking about Nell's infidelity? Because Nell said, no, you know what? I'm sorry. I don't even know why I asked that question. She did expound upon it. Basically, she's heard somewhere that maybe Chris has been cheating again, or there's been some infidelity again. And Nell is just like, I'm just going to pay the whole thing because I don't even believe that. I don't care about it. But she's really deflecting, bringing up my husband and the infidelity she heard about in the streets. It's always the streets. I'm so glad they use Instagram as the backdrop for this season, because that's how y'all live. This cast live their life on Instagram and Instagram Live. They done toned it down a little bit, but child. But Nell said, you deflecting, I'm not worried about it. So when they get over there to talk to the guys, Tisha takes it upon herself to run up on Chris a little bit and say, she got kind of her hands in his face or whatever, and saying, well, you said this about Maurice and Marceau, so I want you to repeat what you said. Did you say it? What you said? And so Nell is like, back up now. This is my husband. The only person he answers to is me. You ain't got to get your liquid courage hands all up in his face. I noticed that Tisha don't want that with Nell. Okay, Tisha do not want that with Nell, because I noticed her energy she bagged back. She did back over there with her husband, and Marceau ain't worth a damn. Marceau not only let her get told off, but also let Chris tell her, as far as the conversation, I already talked it out with the men. I talked to your husband about it. And Tisha just like, but still, I'm asking you. Marceau eventually jumps in
and says, Tisha, we already handled it. But he did that after he saw you get embarrassed by Nell. Did further get embarrassed by Chris telling you to mind your business. I'm not giving you no answers. Talk to your husband about it. She turned around and looked at Marcel in the moment for support. And Marcel shrugged his shoulders like you on your own. And then go into confessionals and say, Tisha has a tendency to get in other people's husbands' faces. And even though he is a husband, he's not your husband. Listen, this man don't never have your back. Maybe in private he do. Because you say y'all got your own way of communicating. But in public, he will let you look the fool every single time. Every single time. It's pathetic. It is honestly pathetic. I don't care for none of them. I don't care for none of them. And it remains to be seen if I'm even going to care for Nell. Like, I ain't have no problem with her this episode, but I don't even know. I told y'all I don't like nobody on here. Okay, I'm just reviewing it for the plot at this point. What did y'all think about the episode? Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to see y'all for the next one. Bye.